back to the crossover. I am Chandler Wilson. We're glad to be back again this week. With me is John Lang. Hayston is out in Colorado this week, so he won't be joining us this morning. So, John, how's it going today?
It's going well.
Going well. Glad to hear it. So, this week we decided to do something a little unorthodox. We don't have a script, and we're just going to start talking, and we're just going to have a conversation, and some of it might be about sports, and some of it might not be. So if you're going to jump ship, you might do it now. It may be the best choice of your life or the worst choice of your life. We'll just see how it goes from here. So, John, hit us with the scripture of the day.
You want scripture of the day or trivia first?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about trivia. Let's do trivia first.
Trivia first, okay. Well, backstory on this trivia question. I've been holding on to this style of question, for 10 weeks now, 11 weeks. But, so, for those of you that don't know, which is everybody except for, like, maybe your mom, Chandler, every year, Janet, Chandler's mom, Chandler and Hayston's mom, gets me a nice little Royals calendar for Christmas. And so these Royals calendars have a daily factoid or trivia question. And so July 27th, trivia question. Who holds the single-season Major League Baseball record for RBIs with 191?
Crud.
I will give you a hint.
Okay.
No, it's not Manny.
No, I wasn't going to say Manny.
I will give you a hint. It is a guy with an incredible first name if you're a baseball player. And it was in 1930.
Right. Man, I'm almost sure this isn't right, but I'm going to go with Ty Cobb.
Not Ty Cobb. It's Hack Wilson.
Hack Wilson. Okay. Man.
Your cousin.
My cousin. Cousin Hack.
Yeah.
Man, I knew it wasn't Ty Cobb. Let's see. What's his big does he have...
He had a stolen base record at a time, I think. I think he might have even had a hits record at one time. I don't know. That might not be true. But those have both since been broken.
Right. I feel like there was some record that he had that was just astronomically high because it's skewed because of when he played, but
right.
I can't remember what it would be. Anyway, that was a good trivia question.
Courtesy Janet.
Yep. Way to go, Mom. You did it.
All right. Scripture of the day.
Yep.
Scripture of the day brought to you by the Richmond United Methodist Church. Open hearts, open minds, open doors.
There it is.
Comes out of Psalms 103, verses 11 and 12. For as high as the heavens are above the earth, so great is his steadfast love towards those who fear him. As far as the east is from the west, so far does he remove our transgressions from us. That was the Scripture of the Week, brought to you by the Richmond United Methodist Church. Come visit our youth groups. Wednesdays at 6, Thursdays at 6. I don't know. That's Hayston.
I think it's Wednesday nights at 7.
During the school year.
During the school year. I don't know. You can worry about it closer to the time if
right.
You're a youth or have youth.
If you're interested, DM us and we'll get it to Hayston.
Anyway. Way to go.
What's been going on this week, Chandler, as we go off script for the first time?
Yeah, well, I was kind of thinking, like, since we didn't do one last week, like, what all has happened, at least in sports, since we last talked? The Royals have won a few games.
The Royals won their first series of the year. No, they swept their first series of the year.
Yeah.
They swept the Minnesota Twins. Yeehaw.
Yeah, it's going to be infuriating. They're going to, from here on out,
go on a run.
They're going to go on a run, and there's still going to be 20 games.
And they're going to get the 8th draft pick instead of the second.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what's going to happen now.
That's the Royals.
That's what they do. But yeah, so the Royals are not as laughable, but they're still pretty laughable. Let me tell you something. The Cardinals are kind of they're a little bit of a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Matt Carpenter is really good, but
which is weird because he was really bad at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Like really bad.
But what was that? Like I don't remember what night it was. It might have been even over the weekend or early in the week, but he went like 5 for 5 with 3 home runs and 2 doubles. I mean, that's...
Was that... Yeah. I think it was the first night out of the All-Star break. I think it was Thursday night. Or Friday night.
Of last week?
Yeah.
Yeah, it very well could have been. But like,
and then the next day, I think he hit 2 more dingers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. But, man.
Yeah, he's hot.
He is.
But yeah, the Cardinals, they fired Mike Matheny, who, I mean, I think it was time to go. I think he's done a fine job, but, you know.
Yeah, the expectations are just higher in St. Louis.
Right. I mean, Ned Yost would have been canned a long time ago there.
Right. That's really true. Right now, who's your AL and NL MVPs? Right now,
Mike Trout.
Of course.
Go figure. Because he's my Rookie of the Year, Cy Young winner, MVP.
I was gonna say, is he your NL MVP too?
NL MVP. Oh, let me think for a second. I feel like Matt Kemp's got to be in that discussion just because he's got the Dodgers in contention pretty much. I'm trying to think. Who am I missing? Freddie Freeman's probably in that discussion. He's the Braves' first baseman. I'm probably missing some people. Let's go with Lorenzo Cain. Brewers are battling for first place, and he's having a good year. I'll give him some love.
Matt
Cain.
Kemp. I did not think... Am I going crazy? I thought... This shows how much I pay attention to baseball, but I thought that Matt Kemp was no longer... I thought he played for the Padres.
So here's what happened. He was, an MVP-type player like 6 years ago with the Dodgers. And then he got traded for like a young up-and-coming catcher from the Padres. You're right about that. And that was about the same time. I think the Padres traded for him, and I think they traded for Will Myers at that time. And they were supposed to be good. They were trying to be good, and they just flopped.
Yeah.
And somewhere in there, Matt Kemp got hurt a lot. He got traded to like Atlanta, I think. Got hurt some more. Got released, and somehow he ended up back in LA, and he's really good again. And I don't understand it. There's something in the water there.
Huh.
I don't know. Yeah. No, it's weird.
Yeah, I was about to feel pretty bad if I just imagined that Matt Kemp went to the Padres, but
I almost want to say he was like a minor league free agent when he signed with them too, and he's been good. Yeah, like he's made it worth it for them.
Yeah, weird how that sort of thing happens sometimes.
Yeah.
What else has happened? Kawhi got traded to Spurs.
Mm-hmm. DeMar announced his Canadian ties.
I feel bad for him. It's a dumb thing that the Raptors are doing because he's still. Kawhi's still going to go to LA next summer anyway.
Right. They decided they'd rather have one season of a Kawhi that might or might not be hurt over 3 seasons of DeMar.
Yeah, and I just don't get that because how much better are you getting? I'm not trying to argue that DeMar DeRozan can hold a candle to Kawhi, but it just seems dumb because they're still not gonna. I don't. They'll be probably
a 3 seed.
They'll be the 3 seed, but they're not gonna make it to the conference finals.
No.
So there's no way.
Mhm.
I don't know. That's if Kawhi even plays. Who knows? They might just say, screw it, I'm not playing.
Oh, how ticked would you be?
Fairly ticked, but, Kawhi just kind of seems to
Yeah.
Do whatever he wants to do.
I have to say, I've been surprised by Kawhi's pettiness. It's not
been terrible.
Yeah, you didn't see that the first couple of years where he was. Maybe it was just the difference between he wasn't the man and he liked that better. But he's kind of been the man in San Antonio.
Right.
It's been weird.
It really kind of came out of nowhere. I felt like.
Yeah. Yeah. I always thought he was kind of the low key superstar, kind of like Tim Duncan, that fit well in San Antonio in the small market.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure.
And then all of a sudden, it was like he hit adolescence and was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to make a big statement. I want to be on TV.
Right. Yeah, me and a guy that I work with at Northwest, we were talking about the Spurs last night. I went over there and went to the office, and we were talking about the Spurs. And I made the comment that the Spurs are like a blue blood in the NBA. You know what I mean? Like, they're just it seems like that they should be terrible this year, but I bet they still win 50 games and make the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
It'll be strange.
Yep.
It is strange.
I mean, it's just crazy to think back, almost 20 some years when Tim Duncan got drafted. I mean, they had the worst record in the NBA the year before. David Robinson was hurt that year. I think it was 96, 97, maybe it was 97, 98. But back then, David Robinson got hurt. They had the worst record in the NBA, drafted Tim Duncan, and they won the NBA title the next year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's just nuts. And they've been good ever since.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. But as long as Pop's alive, he'll be coaching the Spurs. And as long as Pop's coaching the Spurs, they'll be in the playoffs.
Yeah. I will say that I watched a highlight video of some of Tim Duncan's highlights. And I feel like I missed out. Like, I've always considered myself a Tim Duncan fan. But I knew it, but I just didn't believe it. That by the time I started paying attention to basketball, he was kind of getting older and getting into his mid-range jumper and, his finesse side of his career. But when he started out, he was a dunker. Like, he would throw it down, and, I mean, you didn't stand in his way.
Right.
And that's just, man, I miss that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I think about that, too. Like, not necessarily that exact instance, but there's a lot of guys that I wish I would have been alive whenever they were playing or old enough to watch it, because it's one thing to watch highlights, but I feel like to watch somebody night in and night out is a whole different thing. That's why it's so hard for me to really make heads or tails of the MJ LeBron debate, because all I ever see of MJ is highlights. I didn't ever get to see him night in and night out, see what he was doing. So it's hard. It's hard to have a real sense of that. Plus, it's impossible to compare. I could talk about how flawed the MJ LeBron debate is for probably an hour. But we'll say that.
But it's obviously LeBron.
Right.
I think there is one thing we could, without a doubt, say. If they played one-on-one, I think LeBron would easily win.
Absolutely. And, that's my thing. When we're saying greatest of all time, do we mean best, most accomplished, most impactful, or, a combination of the three?
Right.
Because there's a difference between best and greatest.
It's kind of the same thing as the best or MVP, most outstanding or most valuable.
Right. Yeah.
Only on a different scale.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, it's just, people look at it the wrong way. If we're talking best player of all time, I think it's definitely LeBron. most impactful, I'd say Jordan definitely edges him there.
Just with the rings, I'd say.
Well, I just mean like impactful to the game of basketball, impactful to the
Okay.
NBA.
Yeah.
And then the third category in my mind is most accomplished, and like that's where rings, stats, that sort of thing comes into play.
Yeah.
Which then that I think who you pick there depends on,
what you value.
Right. Exactly.
And I feel like that's what people normally try to argue more.
Right. Yeah. So.
Because it's the easiest to argue.
Yeah, and I mean, all the LeBron defenders, they argue about him being the best player of all time. Best all-around basketball player, which I think is probably true. But then all the Jordan defenders argue rings, which is obviously an important argument. But is it the most important argument? I don't really know.
I've always, let's talk about the difference between the major sports in that, like, I feel like in the NBA, they value rings more than, in the NFL. I mean, the Patriots have the most Super Bowls ever, right? At 7, or do they have 6?
I think they're only at 6.
Okay, so they're tied with, like, the Steelers, right?
Yeah. Yes,
okay, so they've got 6 out of the last 50-some years, whereas the Yankees have 27 World Series, and the Celtics have, 16, 17? Like,
17.
it's just, it's weird to me that the NBA values rings so much more than the other two major sports, at least.
I see what you mean.
Like, it's pretty common I feel like, for a baseball player to have a 20-year career and make the postseason 3 times and not have any rings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like, it's not going to keep somebody out of the Hall of Fame, I don't think. It might get somebody in the Hall of Fame that they have a couple, but it's not going to keep somebody out of the Hall of Fame that's deserving if they don't have any. Whereas in the NBA, it might more, I feel like. Or at least it'll move you a lot more up and down the ranking of all time.
Right, because the Basketball Hall of Fame's a joke.
Right, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Did you say that and you're like, well, maybe
yeah,
not.
exactly.
Yeah.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, Kevin Love will probably be a Hall of Famer,
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's got 4 All-Stars, a title, and he's going to be the stud on 2 different teams now.
That's true. Yeah, I'm excited for Kevin Love. I hope he does well now in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be totally surprised if he goes back to just having 20 and 15 every year like he did in Minnesota.
Exactly.
It'll be kind of interesting.
I kind of hope he does. I think he's just, I mean, it's fun to see.
Yeah, I like Kevin Love. He's a lovable guy.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was a good pun. But yeah, I don't know. I looked it up. The Patriots have 5 Super Bowl wins.
Oh, they only have 5? Okay.
But they're all since, 2000.
Right.
I don't know. I think sometimes rings matter a little bit whenever people debate who, it's hard. It's very hard to say who like the greatest football player is of all time, though, just because there's so many different.
Right. There's 22 on each team at a time.
Yeah,
like 22 starters.
So it's hard to. It's hard to figure that. I mean, to me, it's Jerry Rice, but to a lot of people, it's Tom Brady. Yeah, I mean, I think it's Jerry Rice. To me, he's the most great at his position out of any other player.
Okay. What do you think Joe Montana would have been without Jerry Rice?
Man, that's tough for me because I don't really. I mean, they had lots of weapons. The 49ers did in that era. I mean, certainly not as good. You know, your receivers help a huge amount. You know, does San Francisco win 3 Super Bowls without Jerry Rice? No, probably not. Do they win 1? Maybe. You know.
Right.
I mean, they beat Denver like 55-10 in the Super Bowl one year. So, you know, they probably still win that one. I don't know. Joe Montana is kind of strange because he wasn't really a huge numbers guy. Like even for then, I don't know. I would have to look this up, but I wouldn't be surprised if he never led the league in passing. Just because I bet Marino did almost every year. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Montana never led the league in passing. I don't know that. I'd have to look it up. But he was just he was super efficient.
Yeah, that's just what I was thinking when you said that about Jerry Rice. I was like, well, he did have 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks throwing him the ball.
Right.
But then I wondered, on the flip side, I wonder how much he made them Hall of Fame quarterbacks by them throwing him the ball. And that's just something you never know,
Well,
it's impossible to figure out.
I think it works both ways, any way you slice it. But and obviously I'm biased, but I'm going to hold that Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback ever.
I'll go with that.
It's
not most accomplished. But.
No, it's a shame they haven't been able to put, a more talented roster around him. And frustrating.
Yeah.
And they've been close a lot.
They've been consistently one of the best 2 teams in their conference.
Yeah. Yeah, they have. I mean, they've made since they won the Super Bowl in 2010, they've made 2 NFC Championship games, and I think they've been to the divisional round of the playoffs maybe an additional 3 times.
So 5 out of 8 years.
Yeah, I mean, and they've made the playoffs all but one of those years. They didn't make the playoffs last year.
That's tough to do as a football team.
Yeah,
that's very tough to do.
It's tough in football for sure. So, but yeah, well, I think we covered just about everything that's gone on. Oh yeah, so much NBA pettiness. So much.
As always, it's July. They have to figure something out.
I'd say it's at an all-time high right now.
Are we? The mid '90s were known for their pettiness. So, are we surpassing that? Like, just with media and everything?
Oh yeah, I think so. And it's less malicious now.
Right. It's more petty. It's not like somebody's going to get mugged walking out of the arena.
Right. Yeah.
It's more like somebody's going to get a subtweet or a Instagram post about them.
Exactly. That's what's so great about it. Should we take a few minutes, since Hayston can't defend himself, to talk about how there's no way he could ever play water polo at an Olympic level? Since he can't defend himself, but I know he's going to listen to this later, so we should just take a few minutes. So, for those of you that may have listened, probably 4 weeks ago, maybe longer than that. I don't remember how long it was, but we had a little segment called Sports We Could Play Professionally. And the idea was, could we play professional cornhole if we practiced at it a lot? If that's what we spent our days doing. Or, professional hillbilly golf or whatever it may be. And water polo was one of ours. And for those of you that don't know what water polo is, water polo players pretty much have to tread water for 90 minutes straight and also swim around and have tons of lower body strength and it's an exhausting game, and the people who play water polo at Olympic level are world-class athletes. And
without a doubt.
John and I immediately said, no, we cannot play water polo professionally. And Hayston's like, I think I could do it. And
with his argument being, I'm a strong swimmer.
Right, that was his argument. Like Hayston's a fine swimmer.
I will say, he did say with 8 years of Olympic level training.
Right.
I allowed that he could be a Division II water polo player with 8 years of training.
Yeah.
He might even find his way onto a mid-level Division I team.
Right.
But there is absolutely no way in the world that he would be able to hang with guys that have done this since day one. There's people that play water polo as a family like we play basketball.
Yeah.
And I just don't think he realizes the popularity of water polo, especially once you get on the coasts.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's not popular in the Midwest, but
right.
Definitely on the coast it is. Man,
He's saying he could contribute to a Olympic team. And that's just nuts to me.
We eventually, after arguing a lot about this, because we've argued a lot about it since then, we've decided that we've cut the definition down more, saying he could be on an Olympic water polo team without being a detriment. That's what we're defining as playing at an Olympic level. Being on the team without being a detriment.
That means that a defender from the other team has to worry about guarding him. They can't just, play off of him and guard somebody else and ignore him. That means he has to be worthy of being guarded on an Olympic team by an Olympic defender.
Right. And more so, it means he has to defend Olympic water polo players.
Exactly. There's no way.
And sure, this is after 8 years of training to be a water polo player. But there's still no way. Because what Hayston doesn't realize is that every human being has a wall when it comes to physical training. There's only so much you can do.
Right.
And Hayston's ceiling is so much lower than every Olympic water polo players. And he just he somehow has no concept of that, and it's infuriating.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. It doesn't matter. I could train for the next 35 years, and I'm not going to be a 2-hour marathoner.
Right. I mean, that's what we said to Hayston. John's a runner. John was, a good runner in high school, made to state track several years. And we said, it would be the same thing. It would be like saying if John trained for 8 years, he could be an Olympic, 5K runner or whatever. And there's just no way.
That's just not the case.
But anyway, he's a moron. What can you do about it?
And that's our co-host.
And that's our co-host, who we might excommunicate, because this has been, honestly, pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, this hasn't been bad. Good way to start a Friday morning.
Right. Well, I gotta go work before long, so we should probably wrap up. Can we think of any over-unders?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
I've been sitting on it. So yesterday I went to World of Fun, and obviously the most exciting part about World of Fun is watching people do the 3-point challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so for those of you that don't know, the 3-point challenge is a rip-off that you pay, I think, $5 or $10 to do. I didn't do it. I just watched people do it. But you pay $5 to do, and you get 12 3-pointers, and each one is worth 1 point, or the money ball on each rack is worth 2. And so there's a possibility of 15 points. If you get 15 points, you get a custom pair of Air Jordans or something like that, it said. And obviously that never happens, or they wouldn't offer it. If you get 14, you get a jersey, and then, the prizes go down. And I'm sure that there's, it's rigged somehow, the rim is a little bit smaller, or the ball is, a little different or something. I don't know. But I'm sure it's rigged somehow to, keep Steph Curry from coming in and just wiping the floor. But and you have a minute to do it. So really you have plenty of time. The highest score I saw yesterday was 11. And this guy was just stroking. I think he missed 2 money balls, and that's about all he missed.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. But what do you think I could get? Over, under 5.5?
One try?
4.5. One try.
One try? That's tough. Man, it just depends. I mean, it depends,
Yeah. I'm a streaky shooter for sure.
Like, if you got in a rhythm, you could definitely get 5, 6, 7.
Yeah. I'm about as streaky as they come. I can go Houston Rockets and miss 27 threes in a row. And then I can go Houston Rockets and hit 7 in a row.
Right. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Go over.
Over, so I'm getting 5.
Mm-hmm.
That's either hitting 2 money balls and another one, or 5 regular ones. I don't know. I really don't think I could do it, honestly.
Maybe not.
I think I'd be getting the brick.
Yeah, you probably haven't played enough basketball lately.
No, you're definitely right about that.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad we were able to work in your Worlds of Fun trip. But I'm glad you brought that up, because after you mentioned yesterday you went to Worlds of Fun, I was thinking about that basketball thing and probably the funniest experience I've had with that, and it involves Luke Sanders, of all people. Which,
oh, I can't wait to hear this.
Which most of you probably don't know who Luke Sanders is. That's okay, don't worry about it. But if you do, it'll be a funny story. So Luke, I think I was in 8th grade, and for our 8th grade trip, we went to Worlds of Fun, and Luke has a sister in my class, so he tagged along, and he spent a large portion of the day at this basketball place. I hate to think the amount of money he spent on this basketball game, but he was there all day long, pretty much, and I don't know how high he got his record up to. It was up there. I mean,
I will say Luke's a good 3-point shooter.
Yeah, Luke's a good shooter, and I don't know, he got it up there, and then he left, and then later in the day he came back and somebody had beat his score, so he spent pretty much the rest of the day there trying to get his record back. And, I don't really remember, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he did get it, but I really have no idea. But I remember that distinctly, and, he had brought his girlfriend with him, too, and, it was obvious that she was bored out of her mind, and Luke was just blowing all his money on this stupid 3-point game. But, anyway, that's my story about that thing.
I mean, if you're surprised by that, you don't know Luke Sanders.
Right. So we'll go one more over/under. Number of times that Hayston and Katie lost while driving in Colorado. Let's go 2.5 over/under.
I'm definitely going with the over. There's some twisted, turny roads out there, but also, Hayston loves to tout that he's a good navigator. And Katie, he's really not. He's terrible. And Katie just doesn't always pay attention or sleeps, so she's not going to help with that all the time.
Right, exactly. And she's really not
I
great.
feel like it'll be, they're at their cabin, and they're like, hey, you want to go get a bite to eat in Estes? And he drives the wrong way to Estes. Just easy stuff like that.
Yeah, Hayston has lots of great qualities. Navigating is not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those people that doesn't know which way up is. And that's an over-exaggeration, but really, I bet he almost never knows which way is north whenever he's not in his respective town. And yeah, Katie's honestly not that much better. You know, sometimes phones can lead you astray. So, yeah, I'm gonna take the over as well.
Especially with lack of signal out there in Colorado, that you get a lot of time.
For sure. So, all right, John. Well, with that, if you're ready, I'm ready to wrap up the show this week.
Yeah, let's sign off.
All right. Well, if you made it this far, we appreciate you listening. And
you can get our shout out.
Oh yeah, yep. You get our shout out for listening. We should mention the next few weeks of the crossover are uncertain at this point, just because I'm getting married a week from tomorrow. Hayston and John and I will all obviously be involved with that, so hard telling what next week will bring. And then the following week, I will be in Mexico. I'm sure John Hayston will probably, I mean, if you guys want, we'll try to do it. So anyway, just bear with us. It's hard telling what the next couple weeks will bring, but we'll be back to you sometime.
Crossing you over.
All right, everybody, thanks for joining us, and have a great weekend.
See ya. Clear.